In Luke 7, verses 36 through 50, Jesus has conversation with what I would call, so to speak, polar opposites. He had a conversation with Simon the Pharisee, so he's going to be reverent. And at the same time, he had a conversation with a sinner woman who came in from the city, who I would call the renegade. How many of you can see kind of polar opposites here, right? The reverent, the religious, the compliant, the pious, running everything according to legalistic, religious, conformity. And then you have this sinner woman who is not doing all of that, like running it in the red zone. And when you start off in verse 36, it's interesting because you're going to see what I would call a sequence of events. And in verse 36, it says that Simon invited Jesus as one of the Pharisees. So the sequence of events starts off with what I call attraction. So Simon is attracted to Jesus and invites him to come for dinner. And I get it. I mean, Jesus is inherently kind of attractive, if nothing more than curious. You bring up the name Jesus, and people are like, interesting. Certainly worth conversations, certainly worth some dialogue. Simon wanted to have him come for dinner. So he's attracted. He invites Jesus. On the other side, when Jesus shows up for dinner, he sits down. And when you look at like verse 37, 38, it says a sinner woman from the city hears that Jesus is at Simon's house. Now, I want you to put yourself in her sandals. If you are the sinner woman, are you really eager to hang out with someone who has religious proclivities? Like, what the heck? Religious bends in them. Here's a guy who runs his life clean, pristine, letter to the law, dots the I's, cross the T's, and pious and super compliant with all religious expediencies, whatever is necessary. On the other side, here's a woman who doesn't do any of that. In my opinion, I don't see a lot of sinner people eager to be around reverent religious people. Do you see that often? No. In fact, a lot of times religious people look down on, shun, disdain, shame, and ostracize those sinner people. At the same time, the sinner people are like, yeah, no thanks. I'll take a hard pass on that kind of treatment. Anybody relate to any of that? Or at least you might have seen somebody in that experience, something like that. Nevertheless, and remember, attraction. Simon invites Jesus, but the sinner woman shows up at Simon's house. This is his house. It's not the synagogue. It's where he's eating dinner. There's a good chance he invited a couple of his friends, who might be religious as well, for this dinner party. The sinner woman, she's not invited. In essence, her attraction is that she is irresistibly attracted to Jesus. And she's going to show up in a place where she would more likely be ostracized, shamed, repelled, rejected, dismissed, poorly treated. But for this woman, Jesus is irresistible. She's going to go to the extreme possibility of rejection, shame, all that stuff, because her attraction to Jesus goes far beyond whatever treatment she might experience.